Okay, 2023, I think, is going to be a fantastic year for cyclists and cycling, the sport. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath in the cycling industry, but it's only going to be to your benefit. That's their problem. They've created this massive oversupply, race to the bottom, discounting, and I think, great, we're actually going to start finally seeing things at a reasonable price again, which I've got to celebrate and applaud. Now, one of the sort of the sides of that, I guess, is, those big predictions by loads of YouTubers that we're going to see this big proliferation of the Chinese brands take over. I don't think we are going to see that at all. I think we've seen a move and we've seen a counter move, and now the risk reward benefit from those Chinese brands, there's still credibility, accountability issues there that worry me, and I don't think the price saving is enough now that we're starting to see the prices just, fight to the bottom. It really is a bun fight out there at the moment. So, yeah, do you know what? It annoys me a little bit because the Chinese brands are that close to absolutely nailing it, and it wouldn't take much. It would take someone to set up a Shopify website, in a few different languages, set up a fulfillment center, send stock to it. And then a consumer like me should be able to go onto that website, look at not just the group set that I'm interested in, but all the individual parts and components, and have, videos and tech documents explaining exactly how to put them together, and have all that reassurance that spare parts are going to be there. Like, that new group set from LT Wu is still, it troubles me as a mechanic, because what happens when someone's cut the brake hose too short and they want to replace the handlebars and they need a new brake hose? Where do you get the brake hose from? Like, what barbs and olives does it have? No one's mentioned any of that. What about brake pads? Like, what brake pads does it use? All those sort of questions, which I think would be so easy to answer and put someone's mind at rest. And it almost makes me more suspicious of them that they don't do like the easy part. They've done all the hard bit. They've done the design, the manufacturing, they've boxed it, they've got a product. That's the hard bit. Actually getting it to market is the easy bit. And it makes me suspicious that they haven't kind of done that. Anyway, on the positive side, I think we're going to see a growth in cycling. I think it's going to be driven by e-bikes. I don't think there's going to be any growth at all, if not anything going backwards on the sporting side in terms of like road bikes and mountain bikes. Even though I think there are some really fantastic, talented athletes out there that are inspiring to watch, I just don't see the youth around us getting inspired by it, because the cost to entry to the sport has just got bonkers. It's like golf has almost become the cheapest sport, which is like baffling. So, but what I do think is that e-bikes being used as a mode of transportation is still very much on a growth trajectory. And we are seeing more and more people come into our workshop with an e-bike that they're using to take the kids to school and run errands around the local town, get to the train station. In fact, one piece of anecdotal evidence that you might see in your town is, the train station used to be cars parked everywhere, up on the pavements, the grass verges, all the residential streets in the area would be like just full of cars. And now we're seeing e-bikes like strapped to fence posts and drain pipes, and we're now sort of starting to see councils put in infrastructure together to cope with the fact that there are bikes everywhere. We're starting to see some of the other businesses in this industrial estate sort of turn a car parking spot actually into a bike shed, and we're getting customers reporting that they can take their e-bike to work and take their batteries in and charge them at work. And it's that sort of level of stuff that we're seeing that I think is driving that growth in e-bike adaptation. Now, there is a dark side to this, which is becoming a lot more evident. I think in 2023, we're going to start seeing more of these problems. And that is that e-bikes have come to a point now where there's quite a few of them that are starting to get worn out. And as they come into shops like ours for repair, we're having those awkward conversations where, the cost of repair is getting uncomfortably close to the cost of replacement. That's especially true of some of the really cheap stuff with like a Chinese motor in it and stuff that we can't identify. There's definitely bits with like the speed controllers and the batteries. we can't really do anything with it. Our insurance would not let us touch like playing around with lithium-ion batteries and stuff like that. So a lot of the time it's like, even if we could find people to repair it, find someone to wind a motor or, 3D print like replacement gears bits or whatever it is, it's not worth it because you can buy a new one for cheaper. And even with like the Bosch, Shimano, Fazua motors, the ones that we sort of really recommend because we can generally get spare parts and service bits for them, there's a few now that are getting to that age where, other parts of the bike are worn out. Maybe they've developed a couple of electrical faults from being out in the weather, that sort of stuff. And that cost of repair, especially if you need to replace a battery, gets uncomfortably close to the price of replacement. And so we have this sort of an e-waste bubble, if you think, which I think in 2023 we're going to start seeing more and more problems with. I think coupled with that as well, there's a little bit of a thing going on with e-scooters, which is interesting. I think we're going to start seeing some more legislation, rules, stuff around that, because they are definitely becoming much more and more abundant, whether you like them or not. We are seeing more of them, and they're actually they do solve an awful lot of like transportation problems. They create some as well, granted, but I think the abundance of them now is getting quite hard for the police to actually do anything about. And what we're seeing is, without any sort of regulation, is that we're seeing, really dodgy batteries, and there's no safety sort of guidelines and stuff. So I think that's what they need to get on top of really before it gets out of control. But yeah, hey ho. The other thing I think is going to really spark this year is sort of driven by the fact that there's too much stock and it's becoming a buyer's market, as I really think that the YouTuber independent reviewing space is going to become super important, because I think when it's a buyer's market, you need the information to go into a situation in a bike shop and have a good discussion and haggle out the deal that you want and get the bike that you want for the price that you want. And I think we've sort of been shoehorned recently into buying the spec level that we're forced into. So for instance, if you want a bike with an Ultegra group set, you're forced into having the poor quality wheels. But if you have the Di2 upgrade, you also get the better quality wheels. And I think channels like this are bringing attention to that. And hopefully you'll be able to walk into a bike shop going, this is what I want. This is what I'm willing to spend. Let's get there. I'm not interested in this off the shelf thing. This is what I want to buy. What can you do? And I think you'll find people very receptive to that. I think you'll find bike shops quite receptive to a bit of bartering and haggling to close the sale. Whereas before, pandemic world, it was all like, put your order in, hope that it turns up, pay whatever it costs. Now it's very much like, you know what, I don't want those wheels. I want you to upgrade those wheels, actually throw in some tires for me as well. And I think we're in that sort of buying environment right now. And so, yeah, I think the outlook is getting better for cycling. The other thing I think is going to really happen, it's going to be positive, is seeing loads more like cyclosportives. Like the event scene seems to be waking up again in a big way. And we're hearing more and more people downstairs in our gym signing up to big challenges and taking those big challenges abroad. I don't think massive holidays are still on the horizon so much, but definitely getting involved in big endurance challenges again. That seems to be happening. And the Alps seem to be having a terrible time of skiing right now. So I think we're definitely going to start seeing all the ski resorts embracing mountain bike holidays in the summer and embracing cycling a lot more, because the ski seasons aren't delivering. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of positives for cycling to come out of what could be quite a negative set of circumstances. So yeah, what do you think? What are your thoughts on 2023? Are you in the market for new bikes, new parts? Are you just waiting to see, waiting for those prices to keep tumbling, or are you thinking this is as low as it's going to go and get in there now? Was this sort of video useful? If it was, please think about subscribing and getting stuck into the chat. As always, I think the most educational part of our videos is down there in the comments. Okay, until the next time, take it easy.